You ever spend your whole life doing everything right and still feel invisible? Yeah, that was me. My name's Tasha. I'm 34, single mom, culinary school graduate, and for the last 5 years, I've been working as a catering assistant in Atlanta. Not a head chef, not a restaurant owner, just the girl who shows up first, leaves last, and makes sure the trays stay full and the fires stay lit. People love the food, don't get me wrong, they just never remember the name behind it. Or maybe they do, maybe they just don't want to. My family? Oh, they definitely don't. I've been cooking since I was 9, Sunday dinners, baby showers, church potlucks, you name it. I've made gumbo that made grown men cry, but at every gathering, it's like I'm just staff. They'll ask me to bring the mac and cheese, but they won't ask me how I'm doing. They'll eat 4 plates of my ribs, but they'll cut the cake before I even sit down. But I said nothing. I smiled, I cleaned, I packed leftovers and took my son Malik home with Tupperware and a tight jaw. I marinated my pride in silence. This year, though? This year was supposed to be different. It was Juneteenth coming up, and my Aunt Sheila, who thinks she's the Beyoncé of backyard events, called me one evening while I was icing cookies at work. Tasha, she said, we want this year's cookout to be real special. 60 people coming. Your cousin Xavier's got some new camera gear, so we want it looking good. You think you can handle the food? Now, normally I say yes and brace myself for the usual disrespect, but this time something in me said, only if it sits on your terms. So I told her, I said I'll do it, but I need full control of the menu. No one else in the kitchen. I said I'm treating this like my own showcase. She laughed and said, baby, nobody else wants to be in the kitchen. You got it. I should have known that laugh meant something, but I was too tired and too hungry for validation to read it right. I spent the next few days planning every detail. I wrote a full menu. We're talking smoked brisket with peach glaze, honey jalapeno, cornbread, brandy braised collards, sliders with my house spice blend, and yes, my famous apple pie that makes people cry over their exes. I bought ingredients from my own pocket, $1,800 worth, premium cuts, organic spices, specialty buns from this tiny bakery in East Point that only opens 3 days a week. I didn't blink once pulling out that card. I told myself, this is an investment, maybe someone would notice. Maybe I'd get a real catering gig out of it. Maybe I'd finally be seen as more than the helpful niece who cooks. I even borrowed a commercial-grade smoker and a branding iron from my boss, so I could sear my initials onto every burger. I took off work for 4 days straight, no pay. My boss thought I was crazy. My best friend Keisha said, girl, you better not break your back for people who wouldn't even show up if you choked on a chicken bone. I laughed, but I didn't listen. I spent the first day seasoning meat until my hands cramped. Day 2, I chopped onions until my eyes looked like I'd been crying for a week straight. Day 3, I slow-smoked ribs from 5 a.m. to midnight, just so they'd be fall off the bone perfect. Malik helped me in between his online classes, cleaning pans, stirring sauce, running out to grab more foil when I ran out. The night before the cookout, I was exhausted, but proud. I stood in my kitchen, surrounded by trays of food, the air thick with spice and smoke and hope. I looked at Malik, asleep on the couch with BBQ sauce on his cheek, and I whispered, they gon' see us tomorrow, baby. They finally gon' see us. That's the thing about hope. It's loud in your chest, even when everything around you is quiet. But the thing about family? They know how to silence you without raising their voice. And the thing about betrayal? It always starts with a smile and a favor. And tomorrow, that favor would come to collect? But right now, I was still dreaming. I didn't know yet that I was cooking for my own erasure. I didn't know yet that the grill I stood over would become the stage where someone else took credit for my fire. There's a kind of magic in preparing food when you believe it's your shot at being seen. It makes every flame feel sacred. Every slice, every stir, every sizzle. It all carries a piece of you. That was me for 4 days straight, cooking like my future depended on it. Because it did. Day 4, the morning of the cookout. I was up before the birds. Sunlight hadn't even touched the Atlanta skyline yet. I stood on Aunt Sheila's back porch, setting up chafing dishes and tablecloths I'd ironed at midnight. Malik, still half asleep, helped me wheel out pans of ribs, brisket, slaw, and sides. I wore my best, a black chef's coat, my curls tied up in a red scarf, gold hoops in place. Not for them. For me, I needed to look like the head chef I was. I had my phone set up too. I didn't tell anyone, but I'd been recording little time-lapse clips all week. Quiet videos, me chopping, stirring, marinating. I told myself it was just for my dream folder. Maybe one day when I had my food truck, I'd post them online. I never expected what those clips would become. By 10:30 a.m., the backyard was coming alive, folding chairs being unfolded, ice chests dumped, music testing on Aunt Sheila's wireless speaker, smelled like fresh-cut grass and charcoal and nerves. I double-checked every table setting, hand-wrote chalkboard signs for each dish. Sweet heat brisket, slow-smoked 12 hours. Peachwood ribs, glazed, grilled, gone fast. Malik Sepp's, mac, extra creamy, extra cheesy. That last one was Malik Sepp's idea. Put my name on something, Mama, he Sepp said. I helped. I smiled and gave him his own label. Lord knows he earned it. At noon, people started arriving. Cousins, uncles, people I hadn't seen since 2019. Laughter rolled over the lawn like a breeze. Aunt Sheila floated around like royalty in a floral sundress, pretending the whole thing manifested through sheer will instead of my sweat. But I kept my head down, refilling trays, stirring sauce, checking meat temps. I didn't need a spotlight, I just didn't want to be forgotten. And then, at 12:42 p.m., I heard it. The loud rev of a custom-wrapped Jeep. Tires screeched into the driveway like a scene from reality TV. Cousin Xavier had arrived. I looked up and felt my stomach clench. He stepped out like he was on a red carpet, sunglasses, gold chains, high-top Jordans, so white they glowed. He was holding a ring light in one hand and a selfie stick in the other. Behind him was a girl I didn't recognize, light-skinned, lip gloss thick, balancing a DSLR camera. She adjusted her dress, then started snapping photos of him walking up the lawn. I blinked. Did he bring a whole media team to a family BBQ? He strutted over like he owned the place, dapped up a few cousins, and loudly said, "Let's sit, get this content poppin' sep. Chef X is in the building." Chef, who? I froze. My tongs hovered mid-air as he walked past me like I wasn't even there. He stopped in front of the brisket, pulled out his phone, and started filming. "Yo, yo, yo, what's up, my flavor fam? It's your boy Xavier, aka Chef X, and we're live at the annual cookout. Let me show y'all my signature brisket right here. Took 12 hours. Real peachwood smoke. Y'all ain't ready." I dropped the tongs. He turned toward the camera girl. "Make sure you get that smoke coming off the ribs. I want to look like a damn magician." I walked over, slow, confused. "Xavier, what are you doing?" He turned, unfazed. "Getting content. You cool, right?" I sipped some, shouting out the family. I was about to speak again when Aunt Sheila appeared behind him, beaming like the mayor. "Isn't it he something?" she said. "Sep's got thousands of followers now, doing so well with all that internet cooking stuff." I clenched my jaw. "He doesn't set cook, Aunt Sheila. He reheated frozen pot pies at the last family brunch." She smirked. "Let him have his moment. Sep's trying. You know how hard it is out here for young black men." "I sep I'm a single black mom working 60-hour weeks," I snapped, "and I made all of this." She leaned in, low and cold. "Tasha, don't set ruin his momentum. You sep are good at what you do. Stay in the kitchen, baby. Let him shine. Stay in the kitchen." I stood there as Xavier posed with my ribs, pretending to glaze them, sprinkling dry rub for the camera after the food was already done. People clapped, laughed, ate, and every time they did, he bowed like a performer accepting roses after a Broadway show. No one noticed I was trembling? I looked over at Malik, sitting under a tree, plate on his lap, staring at me with this look, half confused, half crushed. He didn't understand why nobody was saying my name, why Chef X got cheers and his mama got steam burns. And right then, a voice inside me said, "You see what this is? They don't want you to be visible, they just want you to be useful." But I wasn't done. Not yet. I still had one thing they didn't know I was holding. And that thing was already recording. It's funny how betrayal doesn't come with thunder. It tiptoes in, wearing your cousin's smile. I stood there, smoke rising from the grill, sweat beading on my forehead, ribs drying under a lens. I didn't control, and I realized I'd been set up. This wasn't a family cookout. This was Xavier's branding opportunity, and I was just the unpaid labor behind his highlight reel. He paraded around the yard like a celebrity chef, shouting things like, "This is my own recipe, and we do it big with flavor over here." I watched him pick up my honey jalapeno cornbread, wave it to the camera, then toss it back on the tray without even tasting it. Each step he took was a stomp on my effort. Each photo was theft. But no one seemed to care. Uncle Rodney clapped him on the back. "Young king doing big things." My own cousin Shayna whispered, "Sep's so smart with social media, Sep's gonna be famous." Even Aunt Sheila went live on Facebook, narrating, "Look at my nephew, Chef X, just blessing us today." Blessing? I spent 4 unpaid days working. He spent 40 minutes lying, and they handed him a crown. Malik came over, tugged my arm. "Mama, why he saying he made your mac and cheese?" I kneeled to his level, because some people don't care about the truth if the lie comes with confetti. He didn't get it, but I saw in his eyes that he felt it, that sting, that ache of being erased. And that steps when I made my choice. I quietly slipped away, back into the kitchen, but not to retreat, this time to reload. I opened my phone, scrolled to the behind-the-scenes folder I'd been filming all week. Raw clips. Me seasoning brisket at 3 a.m., eyelids heavy. Me mixing sauce with one hand, bottle-feeding Malik's little cousin with the other. Me branding the sliders while smoke curled around my wrists like fire snakes. Me crying, quietly, the night before, because I couldn't afford to buy new shoes for Malik after spending $1,800 on this cookout. All of it was time-stamped, dated, clear, and edited. No fancy lighting, no Chef X standing over anything. Just me, doing the work, alone. I uploaded the first video to TikTok, just 47 seconds long, titled, The truth behind your favorite family BBQ chef, hash behind the grill. It got 37 views in the first 3 minutes. Then 146. Then 900. I went back outside like nothing happened, smiled, refilled trays, pretended to be the good little kitchen girl. Meanwhile, the video hit 3,000 views, then 6,000, then 12,000. That's when the shift began. My phone buzzed non-stop in my apron pocket. Likes, comments, shares. Wait, so you did all that? Nah, not Chef X stealing credit. This woman deserves the spotlight. Tag her. Let Stitz find her. I uploaded another clip. This one showed Xavier sitting on the couch during prep day, playing 2K, while I rolled out pie crusts and flipped brisket. Caption. Here sets Chef X developing his flavor sets, while I pulled 14-hour prep shifts, hash catering truth, hash stay in the kitchen, my ass. 20,000 views in 10 minutes. I didn't even flinch when I saw Xavier post a new TikTok of his own, a slow-motion close-up of him slicing my ribs, captioned, Chef X, bringing heat to the city. Oh, you want heat? Watch this. I uploaded a third clip, side-by-side comparison, my original shot of me pulling ribs from the smoker, then a split screen of him pretending to slice them after they were already done. Caption, Chef X's magic trick, stealing food and credit, hash caught you. The comments blew up. And then something big happened. Someone tagged a verified food blogger, then another tagged a local Atlanta chef who runs a women's Seps culinary collective. People started reposting saying, give her the brand deal. Where Seps her show? This is why women, especially black women, don't get the spotlight they deserve. I was still outside when Xavier's girlfriend, camera girl, checked her phone, turned pale, and ran over to him. Babe, something Seps wrong. You Sept her getting roasted online. He laughed at first. Haters gonna hate. She shoved her phone in his face. No, like roasted. Your cousin posted everything. His smile faded. Across the lawn, I watched his chest rise and fall faster. He opened TikTok on his phone. Watched the first clip. Then the second. By the third, his mouth was twitching. He stormed over to me, eyes wide, voice low and sharp. Why are you posting that? I looked him dead in the eye, calm, even, because it sets the truth. You said you're trying to ruin me. No, Xavier, you did that yourself. I just gave people a camera angle. You forgot to stage. He stepped closer. Take it down. I stepped closer too. Say please. He blinked. I turned and walked away. Behind me, people were already checking their phones. The whispers started. Wait, she made all this? I saw that TikTok. Yo, Chef X is trending for all the wrong reasons. The truth was out now. And I was done being quiet. The kitchen wasn't my cage anymore. It was my launch pad. By the time dessert hit the folding tables, peach cobbler, banana pudding, pecan pie squares, the backyard wasn't buzzing with laughter anymore. It was whispering, phones out, fingers scrolling, side eyes flying like bees around sweet tea. My name was on their screens. Not Chef X. Me, Tasha. And Xavier, he was crumbling. His girlfriend stood off to the side, arms crossed, glaring at him like he'd wrecked a Mercedes she just finished waxing. Aunt Sheila was on the phone with someone, probably trying to do PR damage control, but it was too late. The fire was already lit. And I didn't lift a single match. Every clip I uploaded kept gaining traction. The first video cracked 112,000 views in under an hour. Comments rolled in faster than I could keep up. Black women been the backbone of kitchens. Let her shine. I feel this. I did the same for my ex's restaurant before he ghosted me. Nah, this hit personal. My brother took credit for my chili and got a trophy. We see you, Tasha. One comment stood out. From @AtlantaEatsOfficial. DM us. Let's talk spotlight. I stared at it, my breath caught. I'd followed them for years, a whole team of food reviewers and event scouts. They only reposted the best of Atlanta's food scene. And they just noticed me. Before I could process that, Xavier grabbed a folding chair, slammed it shut, and snapped at Shayna. You gonna believe some randoms online over your own family? She didn't even answer, just backed away, whispering something to her boyfriend. Aunt Sheila tried to smooth it over. Baby, just apologize and tell folks it was a collab. Collab? I said, stepping forward, voice rising now. He didn't chop a single onion, didn't wash one pan. The only thing he brought was his ego and a camera. Someone from the crowd chimed in. We saw the video. That man didn't even know how to hold tongs right. Laughter? Nervous, unsure, but it broke the silence. Then cousin Reggie spoke up. Yo, that mac and cheese, that sip's the same one you brought to Malik Sepp's birthday last year. I remember. More people murmured in agreement. The spell was breaking. Xavier saw it too. He turned red under that gold chain, stepped toward me like he was about to plead, but I was done with sympathy. You plastered your name on my work, I said, loud enough for everyone to hear. You made me invisible, and you sipped. I turned to the crowd, watched it happen, like it was normal. The silence was weighty. Then, from behind me, a slow clap. Malik. He was grinning, standing on one of the plastic chairs, hands high in the air. Let's sits go, mama. And like dominoes, others followed. Shina, Reggie, even my older cousin Maurice. Clap, clap, clap. I didn't cry. Not yet. But I felt the shift in my bones. Xavier looked around, trapped in the very spotlight he stole. Only now it burned. He mumbled, "Y'all fake anyway," then grabbed his ring light, his girlfriend, and stormed toward the gate. Aunt Sheila called after him, "Baby, Don sit leave." But he didn't turn around. He was gone. And the yard. The yard turned to me. "Do you have a business card?" someone asked. "You got an Instagram page for your cooking?" another said. "I'd pay for a plate right now," someone else added. And just like that, the narrative flipped. This wasn't a hijacked family cookout anymore. It was a soft launch of me. Still shaking, I pulled out my phone, opened my TikTok inbox. Another new message. This one from @Tasty at Home. "We love to collaborate. Your food looks incredible. Are you Atlanta-based?" I was. And suddenly, being just a catering assistant didn't feel so small. Not anymore. Behind me, Malek tugged on my apron. "Mama, do we have any more cobbler?" I nodded. "Only the batch I saved for us." He smiled like he already knew I said to saved it. Like he trusted that I'd always feed us first, even when the world tried to eat my shine. I handed him a plate. Then I looked around and realized, for the first time in my life, they were all waiting on me. The backyard had shifted. It didn't feel like a cookout anymore. It felt like a grand opening. But I wasn't slinging plates for approval this time. I was reclaiming everything that had been taken: credit, pride, presence. Still, adrenaline doesn't cancel history. Not overnight. I stayed up that night, long after the last guest left, after the folding chairs were stacked and the tablecloths were balled up, soaked in spilled soda and sweet tea. Xavier was gone. Aunt Sheila left without speaking, but the buzz hadn't stopped. My phone was a war drum of notifications. Follows, comments, DMs, brand tags, requests. "Can I book you for my daughter Sep's quinceañera? How much for a tray of those sliders? Sis, start a YouTube channel. I will subscribe today. How do I invest in you?" Even corporate names I barely recognized showed up in my inbox. Local seasoning companies, catering platforms, meal kit startups, all asking the same thing: "Can we talk?" For the first time in my life, people weren't just tasting my food. They were seeing me. But with that spotlight came something I wasn't ready for. Fear. I lay on my couch, laptop open, scrolling through emails, Malik snoring softly beside me, and I started to panic. What if I not ready? What if I mess it all up? What if they only care because I posted a few angry clips, and the internet loves drama? What if I really am just meant to stay in the kitchen, like Aunt Sheila said? I stared at the draft of a reply to a message from a local TV segment producer, What Il Channel 11. They wanted me on air, in 3 days. Live. I almost deleted the email. But then, the phone vibrated again. A FaceTime call, from my mentor, Miss Arlene, my old instructor from culinary school. I hadn't talked to her in a year. She was one of the only people who ever believed I could be more than a back-of-house prep cook. I answered. Her voice came through, rich and strong. "Chili, I just saw your video on my daughter Sep's phone. You set and all on fire." I laughed, shakily. "I don't know what I am doing." "You been doing it. You just didn't have a camera before." I swallowed hard. What if they chew me up? What if I go live and mess up a sauce or freeze on camera? She leaned closer. "Then you mess up on camera, and then you keep going. You hear me? Your food tells the truth, Tasha. That Sep's what they are hungry for." I hung up with her and sat in the dark for a long time. Then I opened my camera roll. Scrolled back to the clip I never posted, me crying over a scorched brisket at 4 a.m. during prep week. Just a short clip, filmed accidentally when my elbow bumped the record button. I posted it. No filter, no caption, just the raw moment. And then I added a second post. This one, me plating a dish at work 6 months ago, in the back kitchen of a wedding hall, where I was never allowed near the guests. Caption. I've been working, just not in the spotlight, until now. That clip hit 300K views overnight. I woke up the next morning with an invitation to appear at the Taste of Atlanta Fall preview event. They wanted me to be one of the emerging chefs. I stared at the email for a full minute, then another. Then I screamed so loud, Malik thought something was wrong. "Nah, baby," I said, hugging him. "Something Sep's finally right." But just as I started planning next steps, something ugly crawled back into the frame. Xavier. He posted a video of his own. Low lighting, hoodie pulled low, voice all fake humble. I just want to say, it was never my intention to take credit from my cousin. We're both talented. We worked together. I was just promoting us. She went viral, so congrats to her. No hard feelings. And then he winked. Winked. like it was all part of his plan. The comments were brutal, some supported him. Chef X still cooked fire ribs though. That girl wouldn't sit be famous if he didn't sit film it. Others dragged him harder than I ever could. You built a brand on her back. Bro said no hard feelings after stealing her light. This man is allergic to accountability. Still, his video got views. Still, people called me Chef X's cousin like I was his accessory. And that sips when I knew this wasn't set over. Going viral wasn't the end. It was the invitation to something bigger. And if I wanted to stay in the spotlight, I'd have to fight to stay there, not with drama. With excellence, with presence, with power. So I started sketching a menu, my own original, no borrowed names, no fake collabs. I called it Kitchen Raised because I wasn't set just to cook. I was a survivor. I was a brand. And this time, every flavor was mine. I didn't sleep much after that. By the third day post-cookout, my world was moving in directions I hadn't dared imagine. Bookings, offers. I even got a DM from an Atlanta food truck owner named DZ who wanted to collab and said he had a spot open for a pop-up. He'd seen my video, said you've got fire, let's serve it to the streets. And yet, while the world was clapping for me, my own family had gone radio silent. Not one message from Aunt Sheila, not even a petty you made your point. Nothing from Xavier. Nothing from anyone except Reggie, who sent a thumbs up on Instagram and a cryptic, you already know who been rooting for you. But that silence? It wasn't steep peace. It was a storm getting dressed. It hit on a Thursday afternoon. I was doing a test batch of brown sugar BBQ wings in my tiny apartment kitchen, the window fogged from heat and glory. Malik was drawing at the table. The apartment smelled like honey and cayenne and ambition. Then, ding, ding. My phone lit up like a car crash. Chef X Exposed? Family Feud. The real cook behind the cookout. She lied too? I froze. Tapped on one of the links being sent to me from mutuals. Xavier had just gone live. And he wasn't stet alone. Aunt Sheila was with him. So was Shayna. The video was over an hour long, and in it they said everything. This wasn't set some betrayal. It was a group effort. Tasha just didn't set like that. People finally noticed Xavier. She used our family event to build her own brand. She didn't step pay for everything. Shayna bought the sodas and Xavier brought napkins. We let her cook because she sets good at it, not because she sets out a stage. I stood there, BBQ tongs in one hand, jaw clenched, heart racing. Napkins. Napkins. They were equating my 4 days of cooking, my $1,800 investment, and my sleepless nights, to Shayna's 3 packs of 7 U-Up and some solo cups. I slammed my phone down. Malik looked up, eyes wide. Mama? I forced my voice steady. It sets okay, baby. Finish your drawing. But it wasn't set okay? Not even close. Because within the hour, some of their followers were flooding my TikTok comments with things like, fake chef. She just mad he seps more marketable. Why you trying to tear down a black man sip's dream? That one stung. That really stung. Because for all the hate Xavier deserved, he was still family, still black, still someone I didn't want the world to completely destroy. I just wanted credit, not a war. But they wanted a war. So I gave them one. I posted a new video, but not a rant, not a clapback, not even my face. Just clips. Time-stamped shots from my kitchen the night before the cookout. Me stirring baked beans at 2:04 a.m. Me marinating ribs at 3:17 a.m. Me setting up chafing dishes on the tailgate of my truck. Then, I layered over Xavier Sepp's voice from his live stream. It was a group effort. We let her cook because she sits good at it. And then cut to me, holding receipts. Actual receipts from the butcher, the restaurant supply store, and the rental company for the warming trays. My name, my debit card. No narration, no drama. Just facts. I captioned it. I didn't bring napkins. I brought the heat. Within 2 hours, it hit 400,000 views. And then at Atlanta Eats, reposted it. Again. And then, Deshaun Murphy, one of the judges from Chopped, commented, "You set the real deal. Domain set, let clout chasers rewrite your menu." I dropped my phone. Sat on the floor. Shook for 10 straight minutes. Because I realized something terrifying and thrilling at once. I wasn't stat trending anymore. I was becoming unchangeable, unerasable, too visible to be rewritten. Still, the messages from family cut deep. I found out Aunt Sheila had started texting other relatives, saying I was turning on the people who raised me and airing dirty laundry for likes. She even hinted at me being unstable and just looking for pity because I was a single mom. I saw the texts. Shayna posted screenshots on her close friend's story. But Reggie, he screenshotted them and sent them straight to me. "I see you. Keep cooking." That was all he said. That night, I didn't sleep again. Not because I was scared anymore, but because I was cooking. I was preparing the launch menu for my kitchen-raised pop-up. And this time, I wasn't set feeding family. I was feeding legacy. Because if they wanted to burn my name, they should remembered one thing first. I control the flame. 2 days before the kitchen-raised pop-up, I stood alone in an industrial kitchen I'd rented by the hour, sponsored of all people by the same startup catering platform that once ignored my emails. Now they were comping my rental space, throwing in free branding support, and offered to send a videographer to capture a rising culinary voice from the South. All I could think was, look at God. But the thrill, it didn't come without tension. Because Xavier wasn't done. He posted a taste test video on Instagram, him biting into a plate of ribs at a restaurant that looked eerily like mine, calling it just okay and tagging me with a vomit emoji. His followers laughed. Some tagged me under it with trash can gifs. Others reposted old photos of me in a hairnet at a catering job, saying I stole my recipes from white clients. One said, single mom trying to get pity clicks again, kitchen ain't sipped therapy. Another said, next, she'll say, Xavier hit her with a spatula too. I almost deleted everything. Almost. But something stopped me. Not pride. Purpose. Because every time I got discouraged, a new message came in, this time from a woman in Memphis. My aunt cooked her whole life for family who took her for granted. Usage speaking for all of us. Keep going. Or a girl in Kansas City, who wrote, ISDimp 16, learning to cook from your videos. You set the first person who made me feel like I don't have to wait to be great. And then Malik, sweet, observant Malik, looked up from his drawing and said, Mama, you know how superheroes wear masks? Yours is an apron. I cried in the walk-in fridge that night. Then I wiped my tears, washed my hands, and kept going. Launch day arrived. Kitchen Raised had 38 pre-orders before I even opened the doors. Lines formed outside the food truck lot by 11:45 a.m. Local news showed up by 12:30. By 1 o'clock, everything had sold out, except the jalapeno cornbread. I stood at the window, gloved hands moving like memory, sweat dripping down my temple, and for once every thank you felt real. Not forced. Not polite. Not hollow. Real. And then at the back of the line, I saw her, Aunt Sheila. Wearing a sun hat, looking everywhere but my eyes. Behind her? Xavier. He wore sunglasses and a fake smile, filming himself again. I should have told them to leave. Should Steve stopped everything and called security. Should Steve cussed them out. But instead, I handed the last tray of sweet heat wings to a teenage girl named Tonya who whispered, you inspire me, and then stepped away from the window. I walked outside, apron still on, crowd still buzzing, and walked straight up to Aunt Sheila. She said, Tasha. But I raised one hand. No cameras, I said to Xavier. Not here. He lowered his phone. Aunt Sheila stepped forward. We didn't come to cause trouble. We just wanted to try your food. Support. I narrowed my eyes. Support like when you told me not to ruin his moment. Silence. A long one. Then she said something so surprising I had to double-check. I wasn't dreaming. You were right. Xavier scoffed. I mean, it was both our moment, but... She shot him a sharp look, then back to me. You deserved better. You always did. I just didn't see it until everybody else did too. I crossed my arms. That sounds like a public apology. You willing to go live and say that to the 200K people who watched your son take credit for my food? She flinched. Didn't say yes. Didn't say no. Just reached into her purse and handed me an envelope. Inside, a receipt. From a grocery store. Dated 3 days ago. It listed every ingredient I'd used at the cookout. The difference? This time it had her name on it. She bought the exact same list. Thought, maybe I try to learn your recipes, she whispered. Cook them, right, with your permission. You always been better than we treated you. My throat tightened. Just learn my recipes, I said. Learn why I never shared them until now. She nodded. Xavier stayed silent, awkward, shifting. A camera crew from Atlanta Eats appeared and started filming from across the lot. I turned to face the lens. Not to pose. To own it. I smiled and waved, then walked back to the window, Malik at my heels. I served the last plate of cornbread to a man who said, been following your story all week. You cook with soul. I smiled and told him, I don't just cook with soul. I cook with survival. And as the camera zoomed in and captured me wiping my hands on my apron, I realized they tried to bury me, but I wasn't dirt. I was seed. And now I was feeding the whole damn garden.